Yo, what's up, and welcome into the opening line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. I'm your main man, Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, along with Benny Ricciardi. Benny, we are through the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. How was your weekend, buddy?
Yeah, it was good, man. A lot of the stuff that we talked about actually turned out the way that we said. I mean, there's about 4 SEC teams that made it through. We said the SEC was a conference that, they all beat up on each other, so none of them looked great, but there's a lot of talent in that conference, and betting on them this week turned out pretty well for me. Most of the big bets that I made this week all hit. A lot of the teams I was looking forward to playing. That LSU game got a little shady the other day, but they wound up covering for me, which was nice. Yesterday was really nice to me. I think I went 5 for 5 on the 5 bets I made yesterday. So hit all the parlays, had all my straight bets come in. So this is good, man. As you know, I'm buying a house pretty soon, so I gotta put some money together. I got a lot of bills coming in. A lot of things I gotta pay for.
No doubt. I didn't know you was buying a house soon, but congratulations and good luck on that. Wish you and the crew nothing but the best. I think through the first round of the NCAA tournament with one NIT game included, I think I came through 12-4-1 or 13-4-1, and 13-4-1 against the spread. My brackets are kind of in shambles though, because the way I did my brackets, I'm picking on games with 50-50 games.
Mm-hmm.
I got it right on one sheet, but then I have another game wrong. There's a 50-50 game. So that's kind of how that's going. But we still got plenty of time left to go to that. We'll get into it and break down the teams left inside the Sweet 16 so to get you ready for this upcoming weekend. Don't forget, obviously, Major League Baseball kicks off this weekend also. And EliteFantasy.com is where you go to sign up for all your MLB, Major League Baseball, DFS needs. Now, Benny, you'll be hopping on that beat as soon as you get through the basketball season, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably be on basketball DFS until the end of the regular season at least, which really isn't that far away. I don't think people even realize that. We got about, I think, 2.5 weeks left at most of NBA regular season. And honestly, it's the last couple weeks, man. You know how it is. It's tough the last couple weeks at NBA. You got guys sitting out either for rest or for injuries. There are certain teams that, there's some teams that are still playing. You know what's funny? Corey? The East right now is actually more, I'm not going to say more competitive, but there's more jockeying going on for playoff position in the East than there is in the West. For the most part in the West, I think San Antonio is 42, 43 wins. Sacramento is in 9th place at 36. So for the most part, the West is pretty much locked up. They're just jockeying for, who plays who. Yeah, who plays who in the first round. But the East, you still got a couple teams like the Hornets are still in there making some noise.
Hornets had that big buzzer beater last night. Jeremy Lamb hit the buzzer.
That was great. Did you see Kemba Walker? Kemba wanted that ball, and Jeremy Lamb lost the ball. Kemba turned around, put his back to it when Lamb threw that shot up. I still don't know if Kemba Walker knows that ball went in. I mean, I definitely didn't see it because his back was to the play as he was walking away, walking off the court in disgust that he didn't get the ball right there. So, and then all his teammates started piling on. He's like, "Did that really go in?" That was a big shot by Jeremy Lamb, and that was something for the playoffs too, because like I said, the Hornets are still looking in there, and I mean they put a little bit of hurting on Toronto with their playoff seeding with that loss yesterday too. So, sometimes that's the way basketball is, as we saw in the NCAA too. 1 or 2 points could change a game like that.
It's 1 or 2 points, 1 or 2 calls. Funny you mentioned the NBA. Yesterday I did a number of different parlays. I didn't my Buffalo Bulls, they cost me one of my parlays. The NBA one, I had a parlay with the Nuggets and the Celtics, which was just a bad idea in general, those two teams, especially the Pacers coming off a 5-game losing streak. So that was tough right there with those two teams losing to the Spurs and losing to the Pacers. But I did hit a 7-leg parlay yesterday.
Nice. That's
always and I normally don't play those, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't either.
I was going to add the 8th leg. It was going to be the Raptors, but something said to me, let me not get in front of a Hornets team trying to make the playoffs.
And honestly, that's a big thing at this time of year in the NBA. Motivation is big. What are teams playing for? Who's still trying to win games, and who's basically in we're setting our tee times already for the postseason and we don't care kind of mode. That's why I said the NBA DFS, especially the last couple of weeks, normally I don't look at the standings. The first 3-4 months of the season, I could care less. I know who's winning and who's losing because I'm watching the games every day. But I mean, I could care less about the standings. The last 3-4 weeks of the season here, though, you got to be looking at the standings before you're making teams because you need to know the motivation of the guys that are playing.
I agree with you 100% on that one. So we got through all of that stuff, but obviously yesterday while the NCAA tournament was going on, we'll get into that great game that took place between Duke and UCF. But the big story breaking yesterday afternoon and later on yesterday evening is New England Patriot tight end Rob Gronkowski has called it quits after 9 NFL season. Gronk retires, Benny, leaves a void in that Patriot offense, but Rob Gronkowski, for the 9 years he did it when he was healthy and on the field, Benny, I got to admit, he was one of the best in the business.
I mean, I would go as far as saying he's the best tight end I've seen in my lifetime. And, the most productive tight end, the most dominant tight end, the hardest one to stop. And the thing that I give Gronk the most credit for that a lot of people don't really know is, like, everyone looks at Gronk like he's some big, dumb animal. Gronk basically took every paycheck that he's ever gotten from the NFL and just put it away. And he said it. He had one of the best lines is like, basically, he lives out of pocket off of endorsement deals, like people paying him to go make appearances, people paying him to do commercials and stuff like that. He hasn't spent a penny of the money that he's made from his NFL deals yet. So he's retiring right now. He's got, 30, 40 million in the bank, whatever he made minus whatever he had to pay in tax.
$60 million. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, I mean, you know what? You could say whatever you want about him. He did things the right way. He always played the game hard. It was a shame these last couple of years that he had to fight all those injuries and stuff, but a healthy Rob Gronkowski to me was the best I've ever seen play the tight end position.
Now, see, here's the thing, right? I hate to be like a prisoner of the moment because it seems like, especially we do, whenever somebody retires, the first thing is, are they a Hall of Famer? Are they a first ballot Hall of Famer? So I hate to kind of like be a prisoner of the moment and stuff like that. So when I first saw these conversations pop up yesterday, I was like, I'm not even going to engage myself. Then I started looking through some of the numbers in the regular season and some of the numbers in the postseason. And I'm like, wow, really was one of the greatest tight ends to ever play. He really is a first ballot Hall of Famer. After 9 seasons, it's only going to take him 5 years to get enshrined. So shout out to Rob Gronkowski. But one of the things about Gronk was Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez, and Jimmy Graham, those 3 guys right there, they changed the way that we value the tight end when it comes to season-long fantasy football. They really did, those 3 guys right there. Gronk is one of the greatest. Now, one thing I will say, Gronk is the greatest fantasy tight end ever. I like guys like Tony Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp. I also think Jason Witten can be in that conversation. Maybe that's a little bit biased on my behalf. But Gronk, when you just look at the numbers, you look at what he did, particularly us as a fantasy company, us as fantasy owners, I tell you what, for fantasy purposes, this was a tight end, Benny, that was being drafted in the first round.
Yeah, and I mean, the production level for him versus the other tight ends in the league, the gap was just so massive that it wasn't crazy. But, I mean, here's another thing, too. Like, everybody talks about the numbers. Gronk was also an amazing blocker. Like, he was just such a big, strong dude, and he used to just maul people. So, that doesn't show up in the numbers. Like, I mean, there are some blocking stats and things like that, but as a complete overall tight end football player, the guy was amazing. I mean, it is what it is. He's a larger-than-life personality. He was a hell of a player. He always did things the right way. And you know what? You could argue, oh, yeah, he went out and partied. He did this, he did that. But whenever he was healthy, whenever he was playing, he showed up every Sunday. He made some catches. He put some guys on their back to open up lanes for guys to run. I mean, he was a complete tight end. So as far as I'm concerned, like I said, there's a lot of other good tight ends that I've seen in my lifetime. But to me, Gronk is the most dominant.
There you go right there. Rob Gronkowski, shout out to him. Shout out to the career, like you said. Got a lot of good things done. Love the personality. Everybody is speculating that he's now going to be a part of WrestleMania. I can definitely see that happen. Rob Gronkowski definitely fits in with that WWE group and all of that stuff over there. So shout out to Rob Gronkowski for what he's done for fantasy owners and stuff like that. To get all the ramifications of this move, what it does for the New England Patriots and how you set it up for your 2019 fantasy football teams, head on over to fantasyguru.com for instant analysis and reaction. Benny, let's hop in some of the stuff from over the weekend, and let's start with the great one yesterday, Duke and UCF in an instant classic. You know what, Benny, I'm thinking to myself after some of these games, like, man, it's a lot of crying going on after these games. Like, not supposed to be no crying in basketball. I understand you get emotional, you get upset, but I will say this. That one yesterday, tears were flowing after that game, and it was rightfully so because that was an amazing basketball game, well fought on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to knock anything, and I'm not going to knock anybody for crying. I mean, you work your entire life to get a chance to go play in the NCAA tournament, and they had a chance to knock off the #1 overall seed in the entire, tournament right there. And, hey, this is why, when we were talking last week about, 50% Duke ownership on people's brackets, this is why we said, things can happen that would have put everybody else who didn't have Duke, like I did on all my other teams in those big tournaments. Like, I was rooting hard for UCF yesterday because if Duke gets knocked out yesterday, I mean, I would have half of the brackets that were in that big tournament that I'm in would have basically been dead right now. I mean, you lose your championship team in the second round. If you had Duke as your champion, your bracket was done. You're not winning any money if you're losing one of your champion in the second round of the tournament. But all credit to UCF. I mean, UCF played a great game there. The big thing for me, Corey, it was the end of the game, probably about, I want to say maybe a minute and a half left or so, right? They were up 4. They had a breakaway 2-on-1 fast break. The point guard put it up, and they missed that alley-oop dunk opportunity. And then they came down the other end, and somebody from Duke knocked down a 3. I forget who it was.
R.J. Barrett, I think.
Was it Barrett? That was a 5-point swing right there. You would have been up 6, where that 3 would have still had you up 3 with the ball back after he hit it. Instead, you missed that dunk. He hits the 3. It becomes a one-possession game. It becomes a 1-point game. They went down and scored one possession. Then obviously Zion, listen, if you didn't understand why Zion Williams is being talked about as the number 1 player in the country and the number 1 overall pick, that last play right there is the reason why. Because he wanted the ball in a big-time situation. He drove right into the heart of a 7'6" guy.
Right to his chest.
Yes, right into his heart. He took his heart right into his heart. 7'6" guy standing right in front of the basket. He not only went up, he finished it. I mean, that was the play. And then on top of that, he misses the free throw. Duke gets the rebound, puts it back. That is a 4-point swing right there. So the missed dunk turns into a 3-pointer. Zion going up into Taco's chest, fouling out the big guy on the other side for them. And then they get the rebound on the next play without Taco fall in there. They put that up, and that became the thing that wound up winning the game for Duke. So, like you say, it comes down to one play sometimes here or there. Duke made the plays when they needed to finish that game. That's what champions do. Teams that win the championship have one of those scares throughout the way. Happens every year to every team that wins the championship. You have one of those games where you're like, man, we should have lost that. What I told everybody yesterday was Duke is going to come out and win their next game in the Sweet 16 by about 25 points because they had that scare. That gives Coach K something to use as motivation. Those kids are going to come out on fire, and they're going to blow the doors off of whoever they play this week.
Up next for the Duke Blue Devils is Virginia Tech, who got past Liberty yesterday. One of the things that leads into your theory why I think you could be correct, Virginia Tech is not a team that is foreign. They don't have a 7'6" center that nobody's never seen before. Virginia Tech is an ACC team that's had a couple battles with this year against Duke. Matter of fact, I believe they have a victory over a Zion Williams, less Duke. So Virginia Tech and Duke is one of the games. Also over the weekend, another rising star, another guy going to the NBA, John Morant. His tournament run comes to an end as they almost lose by 30 points to Florida State. Benny, I'm starting to think Florida State was misseeded.
Well, I mean, we said this at the beginning, right? Like there were 4 of the top 15 teams in the tournament were in the, came out of the ACC. And I mean, Florida State was the 4th one. And it's no knock on Florida State. I mean, Virginia, North Carolina, and Duke are 1 seeds. So really, if they're the 4th best team in that conference, you could have made an argument that they should have been a 2 seed behind those 3. So, I don't think it's all that bad. But I mean, this is really, this is the argument that I made, even though I was wrong about Murray State when they played Marquette. I mean, John Morant played great. He had like 30 points. He hit like 5 threes in the first half. They wanted to take away his drive, so he was like, okay, I'm just going to knock down threes. And then they started coming up on him and making him drive. And, I mean, he made the right plays. He was kicking it to his teammates, but this was the argument I made the other day. His teammates were not good enough to help him carry him in that situation. So he played fine. He proved that he's going to be a top pick, and he deserves to be so. It's just he didn't have enough firepower on his team, and this is what we said. As you get deeper into the tournament, you start playing teams that have athletes at every position. I mean, that Florida State team is legit. Benny,
they can cut down the net.
Yeah. They go 6 or 7 deep with solid players where there's no drop-off. When you look at Murray State, you had Ja. Brown is okay. The big kid Coward is not bad. But that's about it. And even those 2 guys weren't as good as the guys they were going up again on the other side.
No, there's a reason why those other kids went to Florida State and they went to Murray State. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the kid Cabangali was awesome for Florida State. He absolutely dominated not the big kid, but the they have two big kids that they kind of rotate in and out. You know, not like the really big kid, but the other guy who's a little more skilled. I mean, I think he had like 20-something points in that game. He had 30-something fantasy points if you were playing in the, you know, DFS college basketball Survivor tournament and stuff. I mean, he was one of the guys that kind of carried my team on Saturday in that one. So, you know, Florida State, definitely a team. Like, don't sleep on this Florida State team. They are
up next. They have a big battle with Gonzaga. I think that game was opened up as Gonzaga as a 7.5-point favorite. I'll be taking Florida State in that one. I might jump on that line now. Gonzaga with a big time win. They did get the good W over Baylor. You saw the best of Gonzaga. Got a 13-point win. I was catching 14 on Baylor, so I'm sweating it down to those final free throws. But Gonzaga do exactly what we thought Gonzaga was going to do. They go ahead and advance. Purdue and Tennessee also coming up this week in the Sweet 16. Purdue with a big-time blowout win over Villanova. You know what? Everybody was, like, shocked about this that's happening. But the Big East was so down this year, I was like, it's a good chance Nova could get beat up pretty good, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I like Purdue in that game. Listen, I love Nova. Jay Wright is one of my favorite coaches. I think he does a great job. Does a great job recruiting. Does a great job with the kids. He gives great interviews at the end of the game. He's a real open guy. Actually met him a couple times. Really, really nice guy. Like, he's exactly the way you would think he would. You know, when you see him on TV, that's the exact same way he is in real life. Just real down to earth, real chill guy. You know, loves coaching basketball, loves basketball. The problem is he just didn't have the talent this year. And it's no knock on him either. I mean,
a lot of kids to the NBA the past couple years.
That's it. You win a national championship, half your team moves on. You know, yeah, you got freshmen. And that's a problem with a lot of these big schools. When you're sending all these kids on and you're playing with freshmen, you know, I mean, even look at Duke the other day against UFC. One of the problem with freshmen is they haven't been there before. So when adversity comes or when they get into one of those situations, sometimes they do stupid things, and that's the way it is. He keeps that team together for another 2 years. They're going to be making a run, and you're going to see Villanova in the Elite Eight, the Final Four, like we've been used to with them over the last couple of years.
No doubt Tennessee also advances. They get a little bit of a scare. They blow a big second-half lead. Get the W in overtime. Admiral Schofield, that Tennessee team, Rick Barnes' squad, they're looking pretty strong right now. They'll be taking on Purdue. Texas Tech upsets and upends my Buffalo Bulls. They kind of blew them out. Not upset them. They blew them out. They stomped them. Michigan also advances. The Wolverines looking good. Then we see UVA and Oregon also get through. LSU and Michigan State is going to be one of the more interesting games of this tournament. Tom Izzo going up against really LSU team without Will Wade. LSU is playing some real good ball to get that big win over Maryland. I'm really looking forward to LSU and MSU. I'm going with Michigan State in this one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go Michigan State too, but I think this is going to be a really good game. I mean, I like the guards on both sides. The kid Waters from LSU is good, and obviously you guys know I love Cassius Winston. He's one of my favorite players in college basketball right now. Both teams got some big guys that can bang inside. You know, both teams got a lot of depth on there. It's two teams that play hard defense, you know, rebound and all that. That's going to be one of those, like, knockdown, drag-out kind of, you know, beat-em-up games. So I'm going to be really looking forward to watching that game. I think the best way to play that game, honestly, is to play the under and, you know, kind of tease up whoever the underdog is. Yep. It's going to be a 2-3 point game at the end one way or another.
That game will be a knockdown, drag-out game. You're right about that. A game that will not be a knockdown, drag-out game is the Auburn Tigers and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Expect a lot of flying up and down the court. Benny, I think I'm biased. I keep picking against Auburn, and they keep saying stop picking against us. Man, this basketball team is really hitting right now.
Yeah, they're playing well right now. But, I mean, this is the opposite, like you said, of that Michigan State game. This is the game where you play the over.
Yes.
This isn't going to be a bunch of guys, like, beating each other up for rebounds down low in a tough defensive game. This is going to be up and down. It's going to be 85-80 at the end of the game. There's going to be a lot of three-point shots. There's going to be a lot of fast breaking. This is one of those games that's going to be really entertaining to watch, even if you're not a basketball fan. You know, a lot of people that are basketball fans are going to enjoy the Michigan State game against the Michigan State LSU game. Even if you're not a basketball fan, though, this is going to be like schoolyard. Like, ball's going to go in. They're going to kick it to the point guard. The point guard's going to throw it up the floor. Somebody's going to hit a three or take it to the hole. Like, this is going to be nonstop action from end to end. So,
no doubt, both teams very good with their transition offense. Tar Heels should be able to get this one done. They're playing outstanding basketball right now. Just watching that team, they're going to be tough to beat. But Auburn definitely is going to bring a challenge. And then finally, to close out the round of 16, we got the University of Houston and the University of Kentucky. Both of those teams playing well. Houston getting that victory over Ohio State last night. Now Houston gets a tough task with the University of Kentucky, who got that good big win over Wofford.
Yeah, I mean, I like this Houston team a lot, but I'm not, after
It's
watching.
hard to go against Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I mean, I think I picked Houston early on in my bracket to go and beat Kentucky. I think this is where I had Kentucky losing. Might have
Ooh.
had Kentucky losing to Wofford. Either way, but one way or another, I think I have Houston going on here. So I'm going to stick with my original feelings and go. But this might be one of those games where I don't touch it betting wise. I just I'll watch it, I'll see how it goes, but I don't know if I really have a strong lean one way or another where I can put money on this one.
The Elite Fantasy Sports Network betting site is GuruElite.com. Head on over there. Sign up. We'll take you all the way through the Sweet 16 and the rest of the NCAA tournament. Be winners, like the Elite Mafia, like the crew over here. Told you both of us putting up numbers this week, so you will definitely want to go ahead and get down with some of that work. Hey, Benny, I saw some tweets from the guys, the New York media last night. I guess I don't know what's going on. Why Mara, owner of the Giants, John Mara, found himself in front of a microphone. But there was some pretty interesting things that he said about explaining to his grandchildren, where his grandkids were crying when they heard the news that Odell was traded. What else did he say? He talked about how he was very reluctant to trade Odell. Like I said, I don't think that was a move that Gettleman did on his own. I think he told Gettleman to do that. But obviously, as the owner, you can blame the general manager because you paid the general manager to be the guy that the fans dislike. Yeah. He also spoke about he said that for how great Odell was, that Odell did bring some extra stuff to the building. So that goes on saying that Odell canceled the locker room. But once again, he actually teared up, Benny, talking about Eli Manning being the responsibility for this. It's like, I don't understand why the New York Giant ownership cannot break up with Eli Manning.
All right, I'm going to take a deep breath here because I'm about to go on one of those epic rants that's either going to get me fired or is going to wind up on every news show right now for the entire country. So there was an article that came out. It was either yesterday or today, right? RotoWire, where they basically said that Mara's line was, "I still think Eli Manning could be successful if you put the right people around him." And I fucking lost it when I read this article, when I read that headline. Because the right people, who's the right people? I mean, you traded arguably the most explosive wide receiver in all of football. In all of football, you traded arguably the most explosive wide receiver. If you're a quarterback, you're only going to be as good as the guys you're throwing the ball to. If those guys can get open, if they can get separation, if they can get off the line, if they can stretch defenses, it's going to make your life easier as a quarterback. How do you expect Eli Manning to be better when you got rid of Odell Beckham? Are you bringing in another guy of Odell Beckham quality? Because I don't know who the right people around him. I don't know what that means. Because who are the right people to put around them? If one of the best receivers in football is not the right person to put around your starting quarterback for him to be successful, then who the hell are the right people? Eli Manning fucking sucks.
Yes.
All right? Let's stop with all the bullshit. Let's stop with all the BS. Eli Manning, at this point in his career, he sucks.
No, son, I've seen him play. He's bad, bro.
He can't throw the ball down the field, so you can't stretch defenses. So safeties are cheating up. So all you can do is throw slants and things underneath. But when you have the safeties already cheating up for that, you're not going to get it open. What's going to happen with the New York Giants next year, Corey? And you know exactly what it's going to be. What it's going to be is check down to Saquon. Check down to Saquon, which is great for Saquon Barkley owners. He's going to have 100 catches next year because Eli Manning can't throw the ball down the field. And now that you took away even the threat of that happening, like at least Odell Beckham could have taken a slant 7 yards because that's about as far as Eli can throw the ball right now. He could take a 7-yard slant and take it to the house with his speed. Who's going to do that for the Giants now? Are you gonna put Golden Tate, who they just picked up, in that spot? Is Golden Tate better than Odell Beckham? You said Eli can still be successful with the right people around him.
You had the right person around him.
That's what I'm saying. You got rid of the right person. You literally had the best person there that you could have put with him to help him. Maybe the two of them are not the fit, but if the two of them were not the fit, the problem was not Odell Beckham. The problem was Eli Manning. Paying Eli Manning $25 million right now.
A 38-year-old quarterback who's washed up, Benny.
No, why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. You cannot win football games this way. And you know what? Listen, Eli Manning has done a ton for that franchise. Eli Manning's number will be retired at Giant Stadium or MetLife Stadium, whatever the hell they call that thing in East Rutherford right now, one day. And you know what? That's fine. But you don't owe Eli Manning anything. You have fans paying a shitload of money to get seats to go to see your games. You owe your fans to put a team out there that has a chance to win a Super Bowl. I know Eli won 2 Super Bowls when he was younger. Eli Manning is not winning you a Super Bowl right now. You are not winning a Super Bowl.
He wasn't even good those years.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
There are quarterbacks who have won their team Super Bowls, and there are quarterbacks who won Super Bowls because of their team. You know, like Tom Brady's first Super Bowl, he won because of his team. The last couple, he won because he's fucking
Tom Brady, yeah.
Eli Manning is not that guy. Like, I don't understand. Like, the Giants look at Eli Manning like he's Tom Brady. Like, he's not Tom Brady. He's not. Like, he's not going to carry this team by himself. The Giants this year are going to suck, okay? And anybody who thinks they're not, feel free to DM me. We'll put the money on the line. You know, I have absolutely no problem betting against the Giants this year. When you get rid of your most explosive player, you have a 38-year-old quarterback, you go out there and you get a small slot wide receiver when you already have a good slot wide receiver. Nothing the Giants are doing, none of the moves that the Giants are making right now make any sense. And you know what? It hasn't improved their team. And for Mara to even go out there and say that Eli Manning could still be successful if you put the right players around him. All right, here's the right players around him that Eli Manning needs to be successful. He needs the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. He needs Jerry Rice in his prime. He needs Odell Beckham back. And you can keep Saquon Barkley there. And you need the 85 Bears defense. You put all those players around him, okay, Eli Manning can still be successful.
Eli Manning's a pretty good quarterback at that point. I can't figure it out. Like I said, it's a relationship that needs to come to an end for the betterment of New York sports. I can't see why they're having such a difficult time pulling the trigger. And it's not like Eli's going to say anything. He knows his skills are slipping, declining. Sherman knows his skills are slipping and declining. Everybody except Mike Francesa and John Mara think that this guy is declining, but they cannot pull the trigger on him. Eli Manning can almost be the quarterback there for as long as he wants. So I agree with you on that. The New York Giants will be a 5 or 6 win football team that will once again have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. I can guarantee you that.
But Saquon Barkley is really good. So
Yeah.
I mean, at least they got that. Giant fans, at least you can lean on that. You got Saquon Barkley, he's really good. They're going to give him 25 touches a game until about week 8 or 9 when they basically, run him into the ground, and he's never going to be the same. So congratulations, New York Giants. You played yourself.
It'll be interesting to see what the New York Giants do in the draft, so you can follow that coverage over on fantasyguru.com. Before we get ready to get up out of here, Benny, we were talking before the show about some big decisions going down in the state of New Jersey today. What do we got going on?
Yeah, I mean, today is the day the New Jersey legislature is supposedly going to be voting on the new cannabis bill that they put out there. It seems like there's a good chance it's going to pass the Assembly, probably not going to pass the Senate. For people who don't know, I am a cannabis activist. I have, friends who are real deep into the legal side of it and the business side of it, and there's a lot of money to be made there. Anybody who lives in California who's watching the show, or Colorado or Massachusetts or any of these states where it's already legal, you guys know that a lot of the fears that are, being trumpeted here in New Jersey are not fears that, really are anything that has been founded in any other state that is legalized already.
Getting high regardless.
The biggest problem, yeah, exactly. The biggest problem in New Jersey is that a lot of big pharmaceutical companies call New Jersey home, and they got a lot of lobbying money, and they own a lot of the politicians in New Jersey. And 60% of the people in New Jersey want this bill to pass. 100% of the pharmaceutical companies that are making mad money selling opioids to people do not want this bill to pass. So one way or another, I'm getting high tonight, and hopefully it's going to be legally. And if it's not, all right, so well.
Hopefully everybody in New Jersey can pull that together, but politics might definitely step in the way. If these states if marijuana is legalized, Benny, I really feel as if like the people that have the minorities that have been disproportionately put in jail behind marijuana sale and marijuana usage, they should definitely get a piece of the business right there, because, you can't send cats to prison, you know what I'm saying, for 10 years for marijuana sales. And then when marijuana is legal, eliminate that whole community from the profit office. So shout out to New Jersey. I hope they can get that done. And that's something that we need to see go around more and more, because it's definitely one of the things to help build revenue. I, like Benny, am pro-cannabis. So there you go right there on that take right there. Benny, a little bit of NBA before we get up out of here. If I was to do my NBA MVP rankings right now, Giannis number 1, James Harden number 2, Paul George number 3, Steph Curry number 4.
1, 2, 3, I 100% agree with. I mean, I guess you can put Steph in it. Like, for me, it's so hard to pick somebody on the Warriors to put in there. You know, like, and it's not a knock on Steph. Like, I love Steph Curry. I absolutely love Steph Curry. You know, I bought my kid a Steph Curry jersey. I have no problem with that. I'll let him watch Warriors games all the time. That's a guy that I want him to emulate. I want him to kind of be like, you know, I like the way Steph carries himself on and off the floor. No knock on Steph. But, I mean, because of that team and the way they are, I can't really put any of the Warriors guys up there for MVP. I agree with you. 1, 2, 3, I agree with you. Those are the top 3. The one bone of contention, and I don't really think there is a clear answer to it, is whether you like Giannis or Harden more for the MVP award. And again, like I said, it's a good argument. It's something that, you know, you can argue about in the barbershops. There's no problem with either way. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody who likes Giannis more than Harden that they're crazy, and I'm not going to tell anybody who likes Harden more than Giannis that they're crazy. I think both guys are clearly guys that their team is not going to be in a position that they're in without. I think both guys have earned it. They both helped their team win a lot of games this year. You know, Giannis, the big thing with me with Giannis, you know, I loved the Bucks at the beginning of the year because I thought that the coaching was going to be better this year, and that's why they were one of the teams I picked for the, you know, for an over of their season total. They have basically played as well, if not better, than I expected them to. I think it's really a two-horse race. As great, and again, you know I love Paul George. I write Paul George up in a Cash Game article basically every day.
Every day.
He's had one of his best seasons literally since he's coming. Like, this might even be arguably his best season ever. You know, he's hitting shots. He's going to the hole. He's scoring. He's still a stud defensive player.
He might be the best two-way player in the league right now.
He really might be. And I think that is the argument that, to me, holds the most water between Giannis and Harden, is that Giannis is more of a weapon on both ends of the floor. Harden is still a better scorer. Harden is, frankly, one of the best one-on-one players we have ever seen in basketball. Like, he is up there with the Michael Jordans and the, like, you know, and the Kobe Bryants, and like the unstoppable when he wants to be kind of category. Giannis, to me, though, plays on both ends of the floor. He rebounds really well. That's the best argument that the people who want to back Giannis, the argument that you need to make is that he's a better overall, all-around basketball player, that he does, you know, both ends of the floor. He can affect the game with his size, his length, and his athleticism. Not that Harden can affect the game, but we all know that Harden kind of takes off a little bit.
Yeah, Harden is worried about scoring the basketball. So I do agree with you on your points right there, Benny. A Major League Baseball opening day coming up later on this week. Tomorrow, me and Benny will break down some opening day starters, start to get you ready for the change of the calendar, get you ready for springtime. Of course, Major League Baseball season coming up. Season-long fantasy players, head on over to fantasyguru.com, elitefantasy.com for your DFS needs. Benny, before we get out of here, give us your big piece of chicken for the weekend.
Well, I mean, I think the big piece of chicken has to go to Gronk today, right? I mean,
no doubt.
There's no way you can. I mean, the guy was a lot of fun to watch. He was a lot of fun to, you know, to entertain us on, even when he was off the field as well.
No doubt.
But he played hard. He put on the rings at the end of the day. He got the wins. He got the stats. You know, he was a team player. He was never a guy that was bitching and moaning in the media about, I'm not getting the ball enough. He went out there. He knocked people's heads off. He caught passes. He ran people over. You know, like I said, he was fun to watch. He was a larger-than-life character. Gronk, we're going to miss you. Hopefully this WWE thing takes off for him, because the world is just better when you have Gronk in your life. You know what I'm saying?
No
so for me, that's a big boy right there. It's going to be a big piece of chicken he's going to need. But Gronk, he earned it. He deserves it. Enjoy your retirement, homie.
Enjoy your retirement. As a matter of fact, take two big pieces of chicken with you also into that retirement. The greatest fantasy tight end ever. I got to change the fantasy football game. Tight end going in the first round of fantasy drafts. Rod Gronkowski, you get the big piece of chicken. Don't forget, this is the opening line right here, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, my main man, Benny Ricciardi. Benny, we out.